Okay, this is from Jim Wright, also known as Jim Can Chess. He's 1050 and he played a 1437. Hi, Ben. Slow game, game in 60 with 30 seconds increment. Played OTB in the last round of a recent tournament in Ottawa. I was happy to get the win, but lots of things to improve on. I appreciate your thoughts as always. Thank you. Okay, and our hero, who's 400 points lower rated, has the black pieces. And as he already said, he won the game in the last round. Yeah, knight f6 is a mistake because white can play e5. Then black has to play knight g8. So you don't want to play knight g8. So knight f6 is a mistake. And I've said this on many streams. In chess, when white has a pawn on e4, which is probably more than half the time in a chess game, and black plays the move knight f6 at some point, which also happens about half the time, then if white can play e5 and black doesn't have a good response, then black shouldn't have played knight f6. So after e5, black's only response is knight g8. So that would be bad. Okay, so white played f4. We transpose back into theory. Yeah, knight d5 is not good because it hangs the e-pawn. Then black's up a pawn. Also, knight takes d5 and e6 are good. Yeah, e6 is fine. Although knight takes e4 wins a pawn, so that's better. This is slightly better for black. Black has good position. Two bishops. What else? Yeah, black's playing well. Except for move 2. Bishop d8. Say, what? Seems like black wants to retreat their queen. But black could play queen g6 here, and the queen's fine. Bishop c7. All right. I mean, it doesn't hurt. Black is still better with the two bishops. f5 is a good move. You want to help your bishop get better. Bishop on c6 is the bishop that white doesn't have, the white squared bishop. So f5 is always a good idea. Yeah, rook f3 is not good because it loses the e-pawn, which is attacked 3 times and defended once. Better would be e5 or knight g3. Bishop e8. Well, I mean, you can take a pawn, then you're up a pawn. And you have a winning position. So bishop e8 is not the refutation. Again, you take the pawn on e4. Again, you could take the free pawn on e4. Now after e5, white's better because the d pawn's holding the c pawn. Yeah, e5 is still good for white. There we go. Now white's slightly better. White has tremendous compensation for the exchange with 2 pawns and a passed pawn on d6. So the engine prefers white. But okay, in a practical game, either side could win. King g1 is a good move. That blunders the f-pawn. The queen was defending the f-pawn, and now it's not. So white went from much better to losing immediately after queen takes f4. But black played rook e8. That's too bad. After queen takes, if white attempts to win the pawn back, then the knight on g3 is hanging. So we can take with the queen or the rook, and we're winning. So rook e8 was unnecessary. Now white can play bishop e5 with a stranglehold on the position. But he played c4, hanging his pawn again. And then black didn't take it again. Now white can play bishop e5. Rook e5, hanging the pawn again. Yay, and finally black takes. Now the engine says black is slightly better. Although I would assume black is winning if I had black. Exchange up, and f4 pawn's gone. f4 is coming. Got nice attack on the g line. Whoa. That move just crazy. So that move hangs rook takes g2 check. And the engine points out queen f3 also wins. But I assume a human would play rook takes g2 check. And now queen f3 has the devastating threat of rook g1 check. And then queen mate on h1 or g2. But probably he didn't play that. He played rook f2, which also wins. Yeah, now if black takes the rook, then if black takes the rook, and then after the trade here, queen f6, black is completely winning. That's what the engine gives, but that's ridiculous for white. So instead, white played king g1. Now black has queen h2 mate with advantage, and he played it. So you beat somebody 400 points higher rated in the last round. That's the way to do it. And you played pretty well. And at some points in the game, you could have taken material. You could have taken this pawn on e4, and you could have taken this pawn on f4 way before you did. And as a consequence, white was okay. But then white played the blunder. Knight takes f5, allowing your rook and bishop battery, not a battery, but to win the game. Then your opponent hung mate in 1. But if your opponent didn't hang mate in 1, you were still completely winning here with an extra rook. So good game by you. Let's see. Colm O'Hara said, welcome to Go Ben. Pulp Fiction came out in 89. No, Pulp Fiction, I think, came out in 94. Unless it came out in 93. I have a poster of it right over there. It was either 93 or 94. I think it was 94. But you can look it up on the internet. '94 definitely. Because they made it in 93 and they released it in 94. Yeah, you can't bet money on stuff anymore because you can look it up in 1 second. So those games were good so far. All right, good chat so far. Welcome to Go Ben from Colm. I signed up and it said welcome to Ben. Yay. Let's see, Zed Eh, Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead. Yeah, definitely not Samuel L. Jackson. In fact, Samuel L. Jackson had already left the movie at that point. He comes back later, but that's earlier in time. In that timeline, Samuel L. has already left because they're waiting. They're waiting for Butch because Butch didn't throw the fight, and when Butch didn't throw the fight, he had already left at that point because Paul Calderone and John Travolta were the guys talking to Ving Rhames. Paul Calderone was the bartender before that, but then he took over from Samuel L. Jackson's part. So when the Zed situation happens, John Travolta's already dead, and Samuel L. Jackson's already left the movie. Now, one thing that I've asked people about, but they don't know, is when Ving Rhames tells Butch he can go, at that point when Butch comes and saves him, Ving Rhames doesn't know that Butch has killed John Travolta yet. John Travolta's dead, Butch killed him, but Samuel L. Jackson doesn't know that. So I'm wondering if, even though he gave Butch a pass, once he finds out Butch killed killed John Travolta, if he would come after Butch at that point. And that's not clear in the movie. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Even though he killed John Travolta, since he saved him, he still gets a pass. Although he doesn't know it at that point. So I don't know. Also, I've argued with friends whether the Gimp is dead. Like when he got punched in the face, he was like hanged accidentally, or he was just there unconscious. I never thought in the movie he was dead, but everybody that I know thinks he's dead from getting punched in the face and then hanging. So I don't know. Yeah, but he's going to know Bruce Willis killed him because it was near his house that he ran into Ving Rhames, because Ving Rhames was getting donuts for him and John Travolta. You were supposed to insinuate that Ving Rhames was hanging out with John Travolta at Bruce Willis's place and that it was nearby and he was walking back with donuts for him and John Travolta. Now, I have seen the movie over 35 times. That was nice of Ving Rhames to go get donuts for them.